Jack and Bob Burke, and then their sister.
And then what other banks were up there in Butte besides Metals
Oh, gosh.
that you worked with?
Skip Johnson was an attorney. Skip Johnson's dad was on the Montana Supreme Court, so I got to know him here in Helena while his dad was on the Supreme Court. And he was an attorney for a bank over there. Give me a little time and I'll dig
fine.
out something.
So
there were a lot of banks in Butte, as you know, and savings and loan.
But the big one was Metals.
Was the Metals.
And then looking away from Butte out into the rest of the state, what kind of law practice did you do out in the rest of the state with those clients? Was it mostly Helena and Butte?
Well, it was mostly doing opinions for them, advising them on banking law. I had to take a fast course in banking law. You know, they're very highly regulated. And I had to know quite a bit about federal banking law and state banking law. And of course, the big fight in Montana was branching, because Montana was, they didn't allow any branching at all. And then they started having, remember the detached facilities?
Yeah.
You know, where they could have something within so many yards. And then it evolved. That's a fascinating history. I've got a book on the history of branching in Helena and Montana if you want to read it and get a headache. Boy, there's just a lot of questions. And then I did a lot, I registered as a lobbyist because I'd been in the legislature and did a lot of lobbying for, well, for the telephone company, for the bankers, for Montana Dakota Utilities, Northern Border Pipeline. I had a number of lobbying clients, but mainly, as I say, the telephone company and the Montana bankers. And then after I retired, I did nothing but lobby for the bankers.
So was your first year in the legislature in 1973? When
I
did you
was
get
elected in 70 and served in 71 and 72.
So you were elected before the Constitution.
Right.
Then you served in 71 and 72. And then 73 enabled the Constitution.
Yeah, and then I was in the Senate.
So you were in the House in 71 and 72?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I was in the Senate for the only annual sessions, as you know.
And then that was it. You were there 14.
Yeah, I didn't run again because I didn't want to. One of my close friends was Glenn Drake, and I didn't want to run against him. And I had 2 young boys, and I wanted to spend some time with them. I would have liked to have stayed in. If I could have gotten reelected, that doesn't come automatically, of course.
Well, can we spend what time we have left to talk about stories you've heard in your own family about your grandfathers, grandmothers? I mean, in Tennessee, in Houghton Hancock, in Comstock. Have you any stories passed down to you from those lives?
I don't know. Maybe we ought to. Well, as I say, the Murray family, they were in the Carolinas, and then they were in Tennessee. And as I understand it, Enoch Murray and what was the other one, fought in the American Army, and they were there when Cornwallis surrendered. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But as I say, they were Scots, and very proud of being Scottish. And the Noys, as I say, they were Empire loyalists, which doesn't make me very proud. But and of course George Bennett, I don't really know an awful lot about his family's history. I probably should study that. But what intrigued me is that so many people came to Butte because of what it was. It was a very wealthy, growing mining camp, and these people came from all over. The Tykes from Cornwall through Nevada, the Bennetts from Michigan through the copper camps there. It always intrigued me, and I've always, Butte is such a fascinating place.
Did your dad ever talk about the years he spent up there working for the Anaconda Company?
Oh, yeah.
What did he ever tell you about
Well,
that?
he enjoyed it, and Dan Kelly was a good friend of his. And of course, as I say, Dan was not, as far as I know, a relative of Con Kelly's at all.
Did he ever
And
talk about
Dan Kelly had been the county attorney in Jefferson County in Boulder. And he'd been a politician. I forget what he had done. But, as I say, I got to know a number of the lawyers from the Anaconda Company that way.
Well, when you were, did you say Northern Pacific was one of your clients?
Great Northern.
Great Northern was. Well, who had the ice business out on Stansfield Lake?
That was the Northern Pacific.
What years was that? Was that while you were
No.
in your life?
We were talking about my friend Bob Morgan. That's where I met Bob Morgan, was at Stansfield Lake. Now, Stansfield Lake was a man-made lake, and a guy named Stansfield built it. He built that berm all the way around it and then took water out of the prickly pear because he put up ice. He had a big, huge ice house there, and he was selling the ice to the Northern Pacific Railroad. The Northern Pacific had a real history here. They had a roundhouse and all kinds of facilities, and they repaired locomotives, and it's not very far from Stansfield Lake to where the Northern Pacific had its main facility, and he was selling ice. Now, when the Northern Pacific stopped buying ice, they stopped using ice in their refrigerator cars. They had whatever they had. I don't know. They were more modern. Stansfield sold the lake to a bunch of Helena people, and it was used as a duck hunting club. And that's where I met Bob Morgan, who did the painting over there of Stansfield Lake.
And that's your dad and his dog in the painting.
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
You didn't get any coffee, did you?
Yeah, I did. So let's talk about your grandmother and Margaret Daly. So those two were fast friends. I mean, they were really close friends.
They were very close. And my mother and Molly Mary Daly Gerard were very close. And they both loved horses. I got a picture of my mother on one of the Daly's horses in front of the mansion that I'm going to frame. They were very close, and Mother visited the Gerards in New York a lot. She went to school back east.
Your mother did?
She went to Baldwin, and she went to Smith. And my cousin and I, Tommy Taylor, and I visited the Gerards. Tom Taylor went to Williams College in Massachusetts, is that where it is? And I went to Michigan, and it was just a hop, skip, and a jump on the New York Central to go to New York, and we used to visit the Gerards in their townhouse on Fifth Avenue.
Did you know Ambassador Gerard? Did you meet
gosh,
him?
yes. Mrs. Gerard really took care of Mrs. Daly as she aged. And he turned down several ambassadorships. He was very close to Roosevelt. He turned down several ambassadorships because his wife, we call her Aunt Moll, didn't want to be out of the United States because of her mother. She took care of Mrs. Daly in her old age.
Did Mrs. Daly go and stay in their townhouse?
Well, Mrs. Daly had her own townhouse in New York.
Oh, I see.
And you know that story, John.
Well, did you
The
ever-
story is that Mrs. Daly, Margaret, wanted her children to meet the right people, and they were going to meet them if they had a townhouse in New York. And Marcus, the story I heard, was hated New York. The Irish were looked down on in New York, and he stayed in the, he wouldn't stay in the townhouse, he
Netherlands.
stayed in the Netherlands? And another story I heard was that he wanted to move to Missoula.
Well, did you go to Margaret Daly's townhouse? Have you been in that?
I know. She died in 41, and I don't know what happened to her town.
Did you ever meet her?
Margaret?
Yeah.
Oh, God, yes.
So what do you remember about her?
I
What-
met her at Riverside in the Bitterroot. I saw her every summer.
What do you remember about her?
Oh, God, she was just a wonderful, charming lady.